Entrepreneurship isn't just about building a business, it's about building yourself in the process. Today, we will be exploring the powerful connection between self esteem and success in entrepreneurship. We'll explore why self esteem is essential in building entrepreneurial success, how to spot the negative thinking habits that are holding you back from succeeding, and how to turn negative feelings into a source of strength. Here's the twist. Even history's most accomplished figures like Abraham Lincoln, John Steinbeck, Leonardo da Vinci, they all faced self doubt, but they were able to overcome it and build lasting legacies. And so can you. Let's dive in. It takes an incredibly self confident person to become an entrepreneur. Why? Because as an entrepreneur, you're constantly selling. You're selling your product, you're selling yourself, you're talking to the investors, trying to raise money, you're selling to the customers, you're building a team and influencing people. And confidence becomes your secret weapon. Here's the reality. Failure is always part of entrepreneurial journey. And if you have low self-esteem, then every setback and every rejection will just become a personal attack for you. The weight of the external pressures combined with your inner critic can be crushing in that case. However, if you have high self-esteem, you bounce back faster. You learn from mistakes, and this helps you to essentially keep going. High self-esteem doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It just means you don't let those doubts define you. Even Pulitzer Prize winning author John Steinbeck faced this. In his journal in 1938, he wrote, "I'm not a writer. I've been fooling myself and other people." Yet his so-called mediocre work, The Grapes of Wrath, became one of the greatest novels of the 20th century and gave him a Pulitzer Prize. Steinbeck kept writing despite his insecurities, proving that perseverance matters more than perfection. How can you tell if self-doubt is holding you back? Here are 5 negative thinking habits that indicate that you have low self-esteem. Number 1, overgeneralization. For instance, you didn't get funding once, and so now you project it on any other experience that you have, and you think, I'll never succeed. Number 2, self-blame. You apologize for everything. You literally think that everything is your fault, even though it might be out of your control. Number 3, personalization. You focus on yourself quite a bit. So, for example, when you walk into a room full of people, you think everyone is paying attention to you. You are the center of attention, and everyone seems to be judging you for some of the things that you have in your head. Number 4, mind reading. You kind of assume that you have good intuition. You think that what you think about yourself is the same as what other people think of you. So, for example, if you think in a situation that you feel kind of inadequate, you think that everyone else thinks of you as inadequate. And number 5, control fallacies. For some reason, you feel responsible for everything. Like it's your job to make sure that your employee comes to work on time. Did you spot one or several of these negative thinking patterns that I was talking about? If so, chances are you have slightly shakier self-esteem, but that's okay. Once you recognize these negative thought patterns, it's easier to change them. So, for example, when we're talking about overgeneralization, instead of thinking that you will never succeed based on just one instance, isolate that instance and think about how can I learn from this and how can I grow as a result of this? And then also think about some of the achievements that you had in the past, which kind of proves the point that you will succeed again. And this is just one stage in your entrepreneurial journey. When we're talking about self-blame and you're incessantly apologizing for things that you haven't really done anything about or are out of your control, in that instance, when you have the urge to apologize when things don't go well, think about, am I really to be blamed for this? Was this really under my control? And this will help you to stop in that moment. When we think about personalization and when you're overly focused on yourself, let's say in a situation when you go to a networking event with other entrepreneurs and investors, and you're focusing on thinking everyone knows I am just a starter, I'm just a beginner here, I don't belong here. Instead of thinking about yourself, shift your focus outwards and think about, how can I learn from every single person that I meet in this room today? Next was the mind reading fallacy, which is you're thinking that everyone else thinks the same about you. But in reality, that's obviously not the case. And so when you're thinking that you have an inadequacy, check yourself in that moment and think, well, this probably is not true. And it might not necessarily be what other people are thinking, even though I, in this instance, think of myself as inadequate, for example. And then finally was the control fallacies. So releasing them and recognizing that you have no control over what other people think, what other people feel, and what other people do. So you cannot be the one responsible for that. And focus on your control on what you can do in that instance. Did you know that Leonardo da Vinci faced self-doubt and procrastination? He even left some of his projects unfinished, and he was criticizing himself in his diaries. One of his entries said, "Tell me if I ever did a thing in my life." But despite this, he created timeless work like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. So next time you start doubting yourself and think, well, I have so much self-doubt, I have this imposter syndrome, it's just I cannot move forward, think about Leonardo da Vinci. Because if he let his inner critic win, I don't think we would have the same works of art that we see today. So now that we have identified this negative thinking patterns, we've used the rebuttal technique to kind of reframe our thinking. What do we actually do to build our self esteem? And the answer to that is self compassion. Here's the truth, it's the strongest antidote to self doubt. Think about how you would treat a close friend. So, for example, if you have a close friend that is struggling and is just, is going through a hard time, is building a business and in the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey, instead of telling them you're lazy and what do you mean you haven't achieved 10,000 downloads on your app by the second month, you're just incompetent, you're inadequate. That's not what you would tell a friend, right? What you would do is you would look at it objectively and say, you are at the beginning of your journey, so it's going to take a while. You're going to get rejected. So you understand them. That is self-compassion. Now, if you use that and turn it inward, instead of doing it to a friend, do it to yourself. So there are three components in self-compassion. Number one is understanding. So, for example, when you're working on a startup and it's early stages and you don't have proof of concept even, right? You don't have a team to rely on and you don't really have anyone who believes in you. At the end of the day, you might, let's say, have the urge to buy some junk food and sit in front of a TV and binge watch Netflix series, for example. Instead of turning to your critic for disciplining yourself in the moment, which is what we usually do when the critic comes in and starts telling us you're lazy, like how dare you sit in front of TV when you haven't achieved anything yet. Understand yourself. You're coming from a place of it's tough, it's challenging, and this you're trying to find a way to comfort yourself. And instead of maybe there are other ways to comfort yourself instead of sitting in front of a TV. Maybe there is a healthier outlet you can find to just feel a little bit better about yourself and to take your mind off of the negativity and take the mind off of the grind. Number two is acceptance. So understanding where you are in the journey at this point in time and completely accepting the situation is very important for succeeding and just for building self-esteem. So, for example, if you are at the beginning of building a YouTube channel and it's the third month going and you have 50 views and 3 likes and whatnot, and you just continuously hound at yourself and say, well, by this time, other people have already achieved so much, but I'm just at this stage. Understand and accept that everyone has different journeys and everyone is coming and starting out at a different place, even. So accept that this is where I am. This is how many views I have. This is how many downloads I have on my app right now, and working it from there. And number three is forgiveness. Mistakes are inevitable. You're gonna fuck up. You're gonna screw up. You're not gonna be able to achieve things by or meet deadlines. And forgiving yourself for past mistakes and forgiving yourself for future mistakes is super important. Obviously, if you make mistakes and you don't learn from them and you just move on and say, oh, it's okay, it's just a mistake, you might not make that much progress. But self-compassion transforms the inner critic, and it creates kind of like a supportive coach for you from the inside. And it's a super healthy way to succeed in life. Entrepreneurship is as much as an inner journey as it is an external one. By cultivating healthy self esteem and developing self compassion, identifying these negative thinking patterns and habits that we have developed throughout our entire life, we become more equipped to face the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey, which are inevitable. Thank you for tuning into the Mindset for Peak Performance series of Soulful Entrepreneur podcast. If you liked my content, please do like this video and subscribe to my channel, as it will help me to keep growing and continue producing more videos like this. Remember, even the greatest people of all time doubted themselves. The difference? They didn't let it stop them. See you next time.